Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Trixie. I am the Associate Director at Diversity Abroad, and welcome to today's webinar. So today we are very happy to be welcoming Samantha from the University of Auckland, and we'll be speaking today about not just what the University of Auckland experience is like, but also review the special and new Diversity Abroad and University of Auckland scholarship that we are offering for programming starting fall 2017. So just a few housekeeping rules before we officially get started. Today's session is being recorded, so for those of you who are joining us live, thank you for being here, and we look forward to trying to answer as many questions that you may have throughout today's presentation. We also have the GoToWebinar tool, and for those of you who might be new to this tool, you're all on mute, but if you have any questions, you're welcome to type them in the questions chat box. You also have the option of raising your hand virtually if you ever are being asked a question in a more interactive way. So we definitely don't want this to be a one-sided conversation. So we hope that you take full advantage of being here with us live and try to ask as many questions as you have. So again, thank you for being here. To get started, I'm just going to introduce a little bit myself, and then after I review more about what Diversity Abroad is, I'll pass it over to my co-host, Samantha, so that she can introduce herself to you as well. So my name is Trixie. I'm the Associate Director, and I'm very excited to be working with Diversity Abroad. I've been at the organization now for about 2.5 years, working in the Student Services Department, and so anything that has to do with our student resources, including scholarships, of course, our student website, our Global Student Leadership Summit, which is coming up for us next week in Minneapolis as part of our general conference, are some of the areas that I work in. So I'm very excited to be here. Today's agenda you can see here on the slideshow, and hopefully everybody can see the slides that I'm projecting right now. If you can't, just let me know, and hopefully I can try to troubleshoot. But today you'll hear a little bit more about our organization, Diversity Abroad. For some of you, this may be the first time you're tuning in to anything Diversity Abroad related, or even just a webinar that we've hosted. And if that's the case, welcome, and we're excited to induct you into the Diversity Abroad family. Samantha will then go into much more detail about the University of Auckland, what students can expect from that experience, what the campus like and the culture is like, and really what's included by being a student there for the semester. After that, I'll talk more specifically about the unique scholarship that we are excited to offer for the fall semester. And so not only will we review what we're looking for, but also just what to expect within the scholarship application itself. And then we'll round out with some additional funding options and some scholarship writing tips. I know a lot of students out there cite finances as one of the main concerns that they have for accessing opportunities such as this. And so in addition to just breaking down the scholarship that we're offering, we of course want you to know that there are other ways for you to find financial support if you find yourself in a position being concerned with that. So that's what today's webinar will look like. So just to kick us off right away, a little bit about our organization, Diversity Abroad. Can I actually see a raise of hands virtually from our users if you have heard of Diversity Abroad before today and before this webinar? Just let me know if you have some familiarity. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so about half of you are familiar with our organization. Excellent. So just as a quick review, Diversity Abroad this year is celebrating 10 years as an organization. So it really started out as a space for students of minority, diverse backgrounds to increasingly pursue and be aware of global opportunities. So that can mean studying abroad, that can mean volunteering or internships. And since then, of course, we've really grown and expanded, not only to include services that support students as they're navigating the study abroad process, but also to support advisors and faculty from a professional standpoint. So about 2010, I think, is when our Diversity Abroad team realized that there was a real need to support the same faculty and advisors that are directly sending students overseas. And so how can we engage them in developing more inclusive practices? How can we teach them or hopefully enlighten them in how to be more mindful of the different concerns and needs that diverse students bring to the table with respect to global experiences. And so you're welcome to check out our website, diversityabroad.com. This is what the homepage looks like. And then diversitynetwork.org is some of our professional resources. So if you're on joining us and if you are already familiar with the work that we do, hopefully you know a little bit about the member resources that we have available to those of you that are part of our network consortium. If that's something that you aren't a part of or that you're interested in learning more about, I am more than happy to try and share those resources with you at the end of today's webinar. But that is a little bit about who we are and what we do. So now I would like to introduce my co-host for today, Samantha, who is from the University of Auckland and who will tell you all about her role and her experience being at University of Auckland.
Hi everyone. So as Trixie said, I'm Samantha and I'm an Auckland Abroad officer currently working on the inbound exchange and study abroad team at the University of Auckland. So I have I've worked at the university for about 5 years. I'm originally from the UK and I moved to New Zealand around 5 years ago. And yeah, so I'm working on the study abroad team where I work in marketing, admissions process, enrollment, student support for all incoming students. So if you have any questions around those issues, then please do ask them at the end. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about Auckland itself and the university in the wider context of Auckland and New Zealand, and then I'll move on to talk a bit more about the university itself, the academic subjects, and the kind of experience you can expect while you're here. So just first, I'm just going to play this video, which will show you a little bit about life in Auckland.
Give me 1 second to pull that video up, guys.
It's okay, if the video doesn't seem to be working, then we can just move on to talk about Auckland.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll try to pull it up while you're chatting about it though as well.
Okay, no problem. So just a little bit about Auckland. To begin with, Auckland is a very cosmopolitan and international city. The general makeup of the student population of the university does reflect the population of Auckland generally. As you can see from the slide, around 39% of people born in 39% of people in Auckland were born overseas, and we do have a large range of languages spoken here, with the next common after English being Samoan. We have Auckland itself also reflects a lot of the diversity which we have here. Sorry, do you mind flicking the slide a little bit backwards onto the last slide? Sorry, you can just see the kind of events that we do have here in Auckland, which is pretty cool. So the top one is the Chinese Lantern Festival, which is for Chinese New Year. The middle one is Diwali, which runs at the end of the year, and the bottom one is Pacifica Festival. We do have a lot of influence here from Pacific culture, and this is an annual festival that runs every year, which is quite cool to go and check out if you're here. So I'll just talk a little bit more about our campus now. So the university has 5 main campuses. They are pretty much within the center of the city, but this is our city campus and most of our courses are based here. As you can see, we're right next to the CBD, which is where you can see that tall sky tower. And so we're just a short walk away from the harbour, the main shopping streets, the main train station and ferry terminals. We're really lucky to have 16 acres of parkland either side. So we have the Auckland Domain on one side and Albert Park on the other, which is quite nice to go and relax at lunchtime or between classes in the evening. We also have great views of the harbour and the islands which are in the harbour from some of our taller buildings. So it makes it a really nice campus to be a part of. Okay, I'll just move on to talk a little bit more about Auckland itself, actually. So Auckland is the third most livable city in the world. This takes into account ratings such as housing, social environment, and recreational activities. It is quite a cool place if you are into outdoors to get involved with hiking, walking, surfing, sailing. There's so much stuff to do in Auckland. And also, if you just get out of the city a little bit, we have the Waitakere Ranges, which is perfect for hiking or just going to the beach at the weekend. So we're pretty lucky with that kind of thing. So the University of Auckland itself is established in 1883. As you can see, we are ranked 81st in the world in the QS rankings, which came out last week, and that's up one place from 2016. We are New Zealand's biggest and most comprehensive university. We actually have over 42,000 students and over 5,000 staff. We're quite committed to internationalising our campus, and we have over 6,000 international students from over 110 countries. We also have 8 different faculties, including specialist campuses for wine science, marine research, science research. So we have a lot of different subjects on offer, which I will talk about now. Sorry, do you mind flicking the slide? Thank you. So as you can see, we are a top-ranked university. We currently have 16 subjects ranked in the top 50 for 2017. And as you can see, they're across a range of different faculties. So whatever you want to study, you can pretty much study it at the University of Auckland. We have a lot of different subjects on offer here. We actually have over 125 different subjects at undergraduate level and over 170 subjects at postgraduate level. So there really is something for everyone at Auckland. I'll just tell you a little bit now about something a little bit different that you might not be able to study at your home university. Can we flick on to the next slide, please? Thank you. So here are some of just the interesting options that might be of interest to you at the University of Auckland. So we have Maori and Pacific Studies, which offer courses such as culture, history, language, even dance in those disciplines. And we find that almost all of our study abroad students from the US do take one of these courses, because just something a bit different to what you can do at home. Also popular is wine science, and this is especially popular considering the university has its own vineyard. The vineyard is based on Waiheke Island, which is about a 30-minute ferry from the downtown CBD. And it's pretty, I've been over there myself, it is a pretty beautiful vineyard and as well worth going to check out even if you're not doing wine science. Also new for this year, we will be hosting a high performance rugby program. So this is where students take 3 out of their 4 courses at the University of Auckland. And then they take 1 rugby component at the Auckland Rugby Academy. So the academy is based at Eden Park, which is the home of the All Blacks, New Zealand's national team, and where they also train New Zealand's elite rugby players. So this program allows students to fit the rugby component around their studies. So students mainly attend classes in the morning, and then they do the rugby academy in the afternoon. But we can arrange it to fit around the timetables. It gives the students an opportunity to learn different new techniques, tactical skills, nutrition around rugby, which is pretty cool, as well as studying at the university. So I'll move on to tell you a bit more about the student experience you can expect. So just a little bit about our accommodation. We do a guarantee accommodation, providing that you apply by the deadline and you just pay the deposit. So we have a range of different student accommodation available, and it's all located within walking distance of to the city and to the university. So you can choose from self-catered or meal plans or a shared flat or a private studio. We have quite a lot of different options available. And we do try and guarantee that where you're staying, you will be in with a mixture of domestic students, other international students, as well as study abroad students. So it gives you a good opportunity to meet Kiwis as well as other people from outside of the US. Additionally, if you do stay in a university accommodation, then you will have free access to our recreation centre, which runs group fitness classes. It has basketball courts, it has squash courts, it has a climbing wall, and that's based on our city campus too, just within walking distance of the accommodations. Our newest residence opened this year, and that offers private studios and has pretty nice views over the city. And most of our accommodation has resident advisors, which are there 24 hours a day, and they can support students, and also they organise social and recreational activities. On the slide here, you can see on the right-hand side, that's Carlo Park, which is one of the most popular accommodation options for US students coming to study abroad. So I'll just tell you a bit about the support services that are available for study abroad students. So we have a team of international student advisors who are here to help you during office hours. We also do have a 24-hour emergency helpline in case of emergency at any time. We have the University Health and Counselling Service, which is available during the week from 8 until 5. And also, we obviously have 24-hour support services available in the city, which students can use. We offer airport pickup for all new international students, which is great when you're arriving somewhere that you've never been for the first time. And so we can just arrange that with you. We also have student learning services, which are run by our library and offer workshops, online resources, and advice for students to develop their academic skills, and that you can just sign up for those online. And we additionally have office hours are run by most of our teaching staff, so that you can ask any questions that you might have about that. So just moving on, I'll talk a little bit about our eligibility. So in order to make an application, you should have completed ideally 1 full year of study at university, have better than average grades on your academic record. So we're looking for around a GPA of 3 or above. But if you are coming in slightly lower than that, it is worth making an application anyway, because we do review everybody on an individual basis. So we're not going to turn you down just on your GPA. So it's worth making an application. Also, if necessary, you will need to have met English language requirements if English is not your first language. However, if you have completed school in the US, or you have completed 1 full year of study at your home university, then that will fulfill our English language requirements. So I'll tell you a bit about the application process. So this is a screenshot of our application website. So you just go on to www.auckland.ac.nz. There's a big button at the top that just says apply now, and this is what it looks like once you click that button. So this allows you to get started on your application for admission. It just runs you through quite a few different questions just about your academic background and just filling in your own personal information. You'll then be asked to upload your transcripts, your English language requirement if necessary, a copy of your passport, those kind of documents that we need for your admission. But also in this webinar, we have got a handout for you, which is our online guide to making an application for study abroad. So you can just check that, and that will run you through the whole process. So once you've applied and you've been admitted to the program, you will then just need to accept your offer of place. and you can then enroll in your courses on student services online. It's really easy to use, and we have a timetable planner on there which will help you to make a timetable out of your preferred courses. You will need to ensure that any courses that you enroll in are approved by your home university, just to make sure that you can get the credits back from your time studying in Auckland. If you have any problems with enrolling in courses, then you can always email me or call me, and I can give you a hand with that. Most of our courses do have just a direct enrollment, and you can enroll straight away. But if there are courses that require a prerequisite, you may need to submit a enrollment concession, which is just basically gaining the faculty approval for your to be enrolled into that class. So what happens if you do submit an enrollment concession is the faculty will just look at your academic transcript from your home university just to make sure that you have met the prerequisites and that your course is suitable for you. It's normally fine. It's just a precaution just to make sure that the course is suitable for you. So if you scroll on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So this is our application deadlines. So if you do want to join us for semester 2 this year, you will need to have applied by the 1st of April. That doesn't mean you need to have submitted all of your documents by then. It just means that you will have needed to actually lodge the application. And then you can see the date below for if you want to come for semester 1 2018. You will need to apply by the 1st of December this year as well, which gives you a little bit more time. So I'm just going to hand you back to Trixie now, who will talk to you a little bit more about diversity abroad. Thank you.
Thanks, Samantha. So hopefully Samantha addressed a lot of questions that you might have about the University of Auckland student experience, and that was a pretty comprehensive review, I think, of what students can expect, not just upon arrival, but the kinds of courses they can enroll in as students at the University of Auckland, and the location and all of those kinds of details. So thank you, Samantha, for providing that. In terms of the Diversity Abroad specific scholarship that we have, you'll see that there's a good month and a half between when applications to study at the University of Auckland end and the deadline for the Diversity Abroad application, which is on May 15th. So I just want to emphasize that these are two separate applications, and the application to study at the University of Auckland is one that you administer through the link that I sent out. And again, as Samantha also mentioned, there are handouts attached to this webinar. So if you go into your portal, you'll be able to see those. And it really does a step-by-step process and review of how you can get that application submitted and started, actually. Separate from that is the application for our scholarship, the Diversity Abroad Scholarship. So I just want to emphasize that those are two different applications. And we expect all students who apply for the Diversity Abroad Scholarship to have already submitted their application to study at the University of Auckland. So I'm going to spend time now just to go through what that scholarship includes, and then what kinds of application materials are expected to be submitted for a complete study abroad application through us. So we have two scholarships for fall 2017. These scholarships have been open since the beginning of February, and it's a pretty simple application. So we ask for all students applying to be members of the diversityabroad.com community, which is free. So students can go ahead and sign up on diversityabroad.com. And then one of our questions is just frankly, what is your username? We have 3 short essay questions that are specific to the University of Auckland. Students are encouraged to start the application. Within that, they'll be able to see the different questions that we ask, but no answer should be, I think, longer than 500 words at most. And then, of course, the University of Auckland acceptance letter. So as I just mentioned, we would like for all students who are submitting applications to our scholarship to all have already submitted their application to study at the University of Auckland. You have to be currently enrolled at a U.S. institution. You do not have to be at a diversity network member institution only. So just to clarify, this scholarship is open to any student studying in the US, and you do not have to be at a Diversity Abroad Network member school. The 3.0 GPA, as Samantha mentioned, we do implement that for our scholarship just to match the University of Auckland qualifications or eligibility as well. That said, as Samantha said, if you fall a little bit short, so maybe you're a 2.9 or a 2.8, it's still worth submitting your application to our scholarship. And we'll make sure to take that into consideration as you submit your application. Last, any major is accepted. So Samantha went through some of the different unique courses that are available to students that are coming to study at the University of Auckland. So you don't have to be any particular major in order to submit your application to our scholarship. So what does the scholarship include? It includes the a full semester of tuition. So Samantha mentioned that this is about 4 courses, which in the University of Auckland equates to about 60 credits. Airfare, housing, meals, program transportation, as well as pre-departure support and resources. So it's pretty inclusive, and there's a lot of different ways that the scholarship funding covers for students once they are on site at the University of Auckland. And as Samantha mentioned, there is that airport support in that you get picked up once you arrive. And so once you're on the ground, the University of Auckland really does take care of their students upon arrival. So if you're just curious about how you can pay for other expenses that you might incur if you want to do some outside travel, if you're interested in doing other activities beyond what exists on the campus, we at Diversity Abroad have a couple of resources that we would like to share, and a lot of different tools and tips for those students who are still concerned about not just having the money to successfully be a student for a semester at the University of Auckland, but also taking into consideration that perhaps by spending a semester abroad, you're also losing out in the sense that you don't get to work and earn money while you're there. So keep in mind some of those things if you are a student listening in and you are concerned about spending the money to come and then also having the money to keep you supported as a student. We have a couple of tips that we would just like to share, and a couple of other scholarships that you might want to consider in addition to the one that we offer. So we always tell students to start with your existing financial aid package. Some students recognize and have gone to their financial aid offices to understand better what they already have available to them. And it's a case-by-case basis that no two institutions have the same rule of thumb. So if you're at a school where you might be at a school where, for example, everything you receive for financial aid to be a student can come with you when you choose to study abroad at any program in any country. In some institutions, they're a lot more strict about the kind of funding that you receive that can be used to go abroad versus funding that has to be used within the school that you're attending full time. So just make sure to check with your financial aid advisor, see which loans you might have that will transfer over, or grants or scholarships that you already receive, and kind of do the math, right? So whatever you're already paying to be a student at your school, knowing the cost that it might be to be at the University of Auckland and the scholarship that we already offer. Once you do that to sort of figure out what you might also need to come up with financially, here are a few other scholarships to just put on your radar for consideration for the fall. So of course, we have the Benjamin A. Gilman Scholarship. Most students hopefully are aware of this as an opportunity if you've already spoken to somebody in your study abroad office. But this is a scholarship that is available to students who are recipients of the Pell Grant. So again, when you go to your financial aid advisor to see how much of your existing package can be transferred to or applied to a study abroad program, check to see if you get the Pell Grant. If you are, and if you are a recipient, then that means you are eligible to apply for the Gilman. And the Gilman can give, $5,000 at least for the semester, if not sometimes more. I'll remove the Freeman Asia Award. Sorry about that. Unfortunately, New Zealand does not count for that award. The Fund for Education Abroad is also another scholarship, particularly targeting students from diverse or underrepresented backgrounds. So I'm not sure what the deadline is for that one and if they're closed for the fall semester, but that's another one that you might want to have on your radar just for future purposes if you're looking for additional funding opportunities. The Diversity Abroad Overseas Ambassadors Program is something that we offer at Diversity Abroad. It's a $500 award, and it's a great scholarship for students who really connect with the mission of Diversity Abroad and seeing more students from diverse and underrepresented backgrounds pursue experiences abroad. As an overseas ambassador, not only do you get the financial support from us, but you also help us to create more visibility around students who have access to these kinds of experiences. So you'll be asked to write articles, to share your photos on our social media accounts. And it's just a great way, again, to increase the visibility for other students to see that you can be from different backgrounds and you can be students studying different subjects and attending different kinds of schools, community colleges to private universities to public universities. It really, you really reflect the diversity of students we want to see pursuing these experiences. And by the way, all of these links we'll be sure to send to you in the follow-up email after the session is closed. The planning scholarship. So I wanted to put this on your radar, even though for fall 2017, we've already determined and selected winners. But the Diversity Abroad Planning Scholarship is typically reserved for fall semester study abroad only. So if you're listening to this webinar and you're really interested in studying at the University of Auckland, but maybe feel like fall 2017 is just too close and you can't commit to studying abroad this fall, we will be having the University of Auckland opportunity again next year. And then you'll maybe also be eligible to apply for the planning scholarship. So the planning scholarship is intended for students who really need additional support and guidance through the study abroad process and just kind of navigating applications and deciding really sometimes still what is the best fit for you in terms of the languages you speak or the career you want to pursue, or maybe just the location that you've always wanted to go to. And so the planning scholarship is administered a year prior. So those applications for fall 2018 will open up this fall of fall 2017. And the idea is that throughout the spring semester, our staff will provide additional support and guidance in helping you identify a program that would be the best fit, and that scholarship will also help to cover some of those costs that you're required to pay for sometimes upfront, which might include getting your passport, that might include securing a visa, that might include the program deposit for your program of choice. And so we do that one a whole year in advance. So this is just something to think about if you are one of those students tuning in and fall 2017 feels like you don't have the time to decide whether to submit an application. I mean, April 1st is coming up in just a few weeks. So if that feels like it's too soon, definitely keep this scholarship in mind for the following year. Then, of course, there's a whole list that we can provide you, and you can go to Diversity Abroad as well to make sure that you can see the full breadth of other scholarships that are available. And this is all besides going to your study abroad office, and hopefully you can identify somebody in that office that you can talk with to find out what other scholarships might be available in other ways. So some of those might include talking about fundraising and crowdsourcing. So I've definitely met some students who have successfully been able to raise thousands of dollars towards their study abroad program. This is really an opportunity for you to be proactive about finding people that are committed to supporting you through this process. One of the things that we like to mention at Diversity Abroad is, statistically, there are very, very few students that go abroad, let alone students from diverse and underrepresented backgrounds. So as a student who identifies that way, really take ownership of that and tell your story to the people that are in your community and that would be interested in supporting you through this. It's a rare experience that not a lot of students in the US pursue. And so that's something to be proud of. And feel free to make a page, reconnect with your communities at home, whether it's your parents' coworkers, people at your church. Maybe you played sports growing up or you were in the school band, or just anybody that has been in your life as a mentor or has been there for you. You'll be surprised who comes out and who actually gives you some financial assistance to see you through this experience. And so being really authentic about writing letters to your family members and being really personal about how this is maybe something really new for you. Maybe you've never been on a plane before even, but that you're taking that step. I think you'll get a lot of funding support more than you might think. Another resource that we recommend is just good old fashioned working and saving up. So if you are a work study student, or maybe you have an off campus job, planning now to start saving up the money so that you can have some of that extra funding to support you beyond just the meals and the housing that is already included, having that extra money to support you in buying souvenirs or getting around New Zealand so you can travel a little bit while you're there. Creating a budget is also something that's just a general life tip, I think, that even myself as a working adult could benefit from. So if you haven't already established a budget or budget regularly in your everyday life, getting into the practice of doing that now will really help you be mindful of your spending once you're on site. So one thing I wanted to review as well was just with our scholarship at the University of Auckland, we have, as I mentioned earlier, 3 short essays that we're asking for. And so these are a couple of tips that we just generally like to share if you're a little concerned or worried about what we're looking for and what we choose in our winning applicants. So for this scholarship, we're only choosing 2 students. So we do really want to see you put forward your best work and to be really intentional in the essays that you're writing about why not only do you want to go abroad, but why specifically this opportunity and why specifically this scholarship. So the first tip we always like to give is to review the purpose. What are you asking for, right? In this case, you want to secure the scholarship to study at the University of Auckland. So tell us your story. Who are you? Why should you be selected for this unique experience? And how does this connect back to your overall personal, academic, or professional goals? And trying to make those connections can be a little bit challenging, I think. So definitely take some time to connect with people in your life that might be a parent, a mentor, the study abroad staff at your school to help you as you work through some of your essay responses. Know your audience. By that, know that myself and Diversity Abroad staff and University of Auckland staff will be reading this. So we really want you to be intentional about knowing what the University of Auckland is all about. What are we all about at Diversity Abroad, and how can you tie in our mission and what we're about into your answers. Try to discuss program specifics. I've definitely read scholarship essays that were clearly not intended for the scholarship I was reading, right? So I could tell students had the same answer that they wrote maybe for a different essay, and they just copied and pasted. That stuff is very evident to people like me who are reading essay after essay after essay. So if you're very mindful of being specific in your examples or mentioning program-specific details, to me, that's just one extra point that you sort of get because you're being thoughtful and you're being careful about what you're writing and to whom you're writing. Avoid cliches and talking about travel. So travel is not a bad word per se, but when it comes to study abroad, we're not going to give you the scholarship to travel around New Zealand. That's not what it's for, right? It's for you to be a student at the University of Auckland. It just happens to be overseas. So just be cautious that you're not writing an essay where you're asking us to pay for a vacation, or at least that it doesn't read that way, right? So just be mindful of what you're writing and what the messaging that is received. So again, have somebody in your life that you trust to help read back and give you some feedback on what you're writing and how it's being perceived from a reader's perspective. And then last, of course, is giving thanks. It's a small detail, but I think it goes really far because, again, this is a unique experience. We have the funding and we want to be able to give it to students that will not just actually pursue their time overseas at the University of Auckland specifically, but will also be appreciative of that. And there's a webinar that we actually recorded last month where we go over these scholarship writing tips in a lot more detail. And so I'll be sharing that video recording with you all again as well in the follow-up email to this session. So with that, in terms of next steps, research if University of Auckland is right for you. So maybe you've always wanted to study in New Zealand and you've always been looking for an opportunity, and this is coming across your radar, and you find that it's the perfect fit for you. Semester overseas for a lot of students is the first time they'll not just be this far from home, but this far from home for as long as you might be, right, for the full semester. So really make sure that this is a program that you want, and make sure that it's the scholarship. The scholarship also matches the experience, and that this is the right fit for you. Once you've done a little bit of research, maybe you've taken some of the notes from what Samantha presented earlier, talk with your study abroad advisor and your academic advisor to see how feasible it is for you to take a semester overseas. Engage with both of them, and the two of them on your campus will more than likely be in touch regularly to ensure that the credits you take will be applied towards your degree for graduation. So in most cases, study abroad offices are not going to encourage you to go in a program where those credits are credits you're paying for that won't even be applied toward your degree. That would be a waste of their time, of your time, and your funding. Nobody would want that. So just make sure that you do your due diligence of having those conversations with everybody, so that you can make sure that it applies towards your overall credits. Then, if you've spoken with everyone and they give the thumbs up, make sure you submit your application. As we mentioned earlier, there are handouts attached to this presentation now that you can download that give you a step-by-step review of how you can submit your application to study at the University of Auckland. Once you've done that, go ahead and submit your application for our scholarship. That's not due until May 15th, so you definitely have a lot of time after you submit your application to decide if that is something that you are interested in and that you were eligible for. After that, start saving up. We'll definitely, I forgot to mention this, we'll be notifying students of their scholarship application about receiving or not by the end of May. So students will know by June whether or not they received the scholarship from us. So that still gives you time to also start saving up and securing additional funds for the webinar that we already had. And then, of course, preparing for your trip abroad. So there's still a lot of time. If you are interested, if this is something that you've always wanted to do, why not consider doing that now? So with that, I just wanted to leave, we have a few minutes to take any questions that you might have regarding the scholarship specifically, or maybe you have a question for Samantha about life at the University of Auckland. If you have questions of that nature, feel free to type them into the question box, and I'll be happy to ask Samantha to answer them if she's the better person to answer. Otherwise, I'll do my best to answer your questions as well. While we're waiting, I'll make sure to put up, this is where you can find us online, either Diversity Abroad or the University of Auckland. And then at the end, I'll also put up our contact information. So if you have any questions about the scholarship, you can ask me. If you have any questions about the University of Auckland specifically, you can also ask Samantha. So a couple of questions. Hi, Trixie and Samantha. It was a pleasure to hear about the scholarship in the University of Auckland. I was wondering what the exact dates for this opportunity, and that's coming from Kirsten. So Samantha, what is a typical semester start and end date at the University of Auckland? And Kristen, if that's not your question, feel free to clarify.
So we have two semesters. We have the semester one, which begins around the end of February to the start of March. It runs for 12 weeks and has a 2-week semester break in between. And we then have normally 1 week's break before the exam period starts, which runs for about another 2 to 3 weeks after that. So semester 1 normally ends in late June to early July. Semester 2 then starts in late July, the same semester break in the same setup, and it ends in the middle of November. The dates do change slightly year on year, but not too much. The exact dates for this year and next year, you can find them on our website.
Thanks, Samantha. So Kirsten, it sounds like you guys might be home around or before even the Thanksgiving break that we have here in the US, which might be nice. So you just start a little bit earlier at the end of July. We have another question from Joe. You're welcome. Is the scholarship awarded in a lump sum for all of the expenses? It's a good question. I think it's applied, and Samantha, you can correct me. I believe it's just applied as a tuition credit. So it's not as if a check would be issued to you so much as that would be reflected in the financial aid package that you would get from the University of Auckland.
I would need to find out the exact details on that, but I'm happy to take email address and get back to him on that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, Joe, if you would like to write your email address, I'm sure you're also in our...
Yeah, I can get back to you on that.
In our database from the scholarship webinar. If you'd like to, that would be great. Oh, and Joe says, Sam, it's Joe from IES Abroad.
Oh, hey.
So maybe you have his contact information.
Yeah, I have the contact details. I can just flick you over the details.
Thanks, Joe. Are there any other questions from the audience? If there are none, I will put up our contact information. Again, anything University of Auckland, primarily in terms of life, the application to spend the semester there, all of those questions you can send to Samantha. Anything about the scholarship specifically that we offer at Diversity Abroad, please feel free to send my way. I'm sure University of Auckland has other, financial scholarships maybe that they have, and that might be a question that you can send to Samantha. You can contact me specifically for Diversity Abroad related questions. Excellent.
Just on that note, it is probably worth mentioning that we do have some scholarships available for US students coming on study abroad. There are a couple of different ones available, which I didn't go through, but if you just go onto our website, onto our study abroad page, then you can see them on then. The most notable one is the ENZ and Go Overseas Scholarship, which is up to 15,000 New Zealand dollars. So it's worth having a look at that.
Excellent. Thanks, Samantha. There's one last question. What is the cost of this trip without the scholarship? So I guess the question is, how much is a typical semester to spend at the University of Auckland?
So the tuition fee for the semester is $12,750. And then over and above that, it really depends on what it is that you're doing and how you choose to spend the trip. We do have a range of different accommodation options available, and they do really vary in price. I think the cheapest accommodation is around $200 a week, and the most expensive is obviously more than that, at around $350 a week. But apart from that, it really depends on how it is that you choose to live your trip. If you're going out for dinner all the time, as opposed to cooking for yourself, it's obviously going to be more expensive. It depends on what kind of trips that you do want to do and the kind of excursions that you engage in while you're here. So I think the main thing to look at would be the cost of tuition and the cost of the accommodation, and then other than that, it is quite variable depending on how you choose to live the trip.
Yeah, that's great, Samantha. So hopefully that answered your question. As Samantha mentioned, and we went through the slideshow earlier, starting a budget now just to kind of gauge that will also just help you to be mindful of your spending once you're on site. And also the dollars that we're talking are in New Zealand dollars as well. So there's a little bit of a cost differential. No, that's fine. There's a little bit of a cost differential. So if you're a little worried, you can check that out. New Zealand dollars in value is less is more than US. So, for example, the 12,000 scholarship amount or for tuition amount is about 9,000 or something US dollars. So just kind of keep that in mind, and you can check that out online as well.
We also have a guideline on our international office website on the University of Auckland, which gives you a guide to how much you should expect everything to cost in New Zealand. It covers a lot of different things from internet bills to phone bills to going to the supermarket. So it's worth having a look at that.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so you can kind of hear directly from sort of like gauge the cost.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you too. I think that's it for questions. So thank you so much to everybody who tuned in. Thank you, Samantha, for joining us all the way from New Zealand. And again, if you all have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You have our contact information, and we'll be following up shortly with a recording link as well as some of the handouts and links that we provided throughout the presentation. So thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see
everyone.
you apply for both the program and the scholarship.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
What I want to do.